Man, this guy just can't make up his mind about what he wants to do. He wants to be my friend, then he wants to be neutral, then he demands stuff. I gotta demand too. Shut the hell up. Hello everybody, my name is YujimboXD and welcome to the channel. And this week we return to more mods for Hearts of Iron 4. And since timely political upheaval videos seem to be all the rage at the moment, I figured we could continue that trend by looking at another mod that focuses on just such a thing. Yes, this week we have the Game of Thrones mod for Hearts of Iron 4. The original Game of Thrones, not the new one, the House of Dragons. It's currently on TV. And since it's on TV and it's been a minute, I figured we could take a look at another high fantasy mod. Although their interpretation of high fantasy is a bit questionable. I'll show you what I mean. So when we look at our leaders, we have some recognizable houses, but you can tell there's already going to be some design choices that may not reflect the actual lore. Because while that may say Eddard Stark, I just see Sean Bean, which I'm not complaining about. But that is going to be a recurring theme in this mod. A lot of this at first I thought was just because the mod was unfinished, but the more I look at it, I think a lot of these choices were deliberate. You could look at the loading screen, for example, and see that they could have just put a background that had something from the TV show, but they didn't. So I guess maybe they have a certain design vision. So we'll just have to try it for ourselves and see what it's like. Although I do think I am going to make a few tweaks. So here we have the whole map of Westeros, looking pretty good, looking pretty accurate, but I think we're going to take a look at House Stark tonight. I'd like to see if I could keep Sean Bean alive for once. I think the man's had it pretty rough. Well, I do have a plan to keep old Ned alive, but first I think I want to make some adjustments for immersion. They do allow planes by default, but I'm going to disable them because there are no dragons in this era, and at least I can tell myself the tanks are knights or something. So I'm going to leave Iron Man mode and historical focus off because I'm in the mood to write some fan fiction. Alright, so here we are in Westeros, or more specifically, the North. And the reason I picked the Starks was not just because of the brand recognition, but that's definitely a part of it. It's also because they have a decent amount of resources and a lot of manpower and factories to start, so they're definitely one of the stronger starting factions, despite having some creepy puppets. I also wanted to play in the North because I don't trust the AI to manage this particular front, because there might be a particular someone coming for us. And let's just say, I'm a big fan of his work. So let's take a look at the focus tree. Yeah, not exactly the largest focus tree I've seen, and there's not too much diversity in it, and a lot of them you have to actually look at to see what they do because they just have generic icons. And when we look at the tech, it's the same story over there as well. We just have the base tech tree. Yeah, because this mod even left nuclear bombs in, and the only giant bombs I remember was Season 8. Well, we may have a smaller focus tree, but we do have some events to offset that. And this one is just setting up the lore of our household. But I'm one of those book nerds, and I've read all the Game of Thrones books, so I can fill you in on all the lore. And the first thing you need to know is everyone's family tree looks like a bowl of spaghetti. Well, Jon Arryn, the surrogate father to Bob Baratheon and Ned Stark, has died, and now old Bobby B is asking his old friend Ned to come join him in King's Landing to tell him how to run the country, because he's a bit too drunk to do it. But we shouldn't be too hard on him after all, he did invent the breastplate stretcher. Now we have Ned's son leading us, Robb Stark. But don't worry, I'll keep an eye on Sean Bean. I wouldn't want him losing his head. Oh, and it looks like playing with historical off is already paying dividends. It looks like Roose Bolton wants to normalize relations. And he also wants to say he knows Comrade Dyatlov was in the control room and he was the one who ordered them to raise power. There are gonna be some really confused people out there right now like, what the hell are you talking about? It's from the TV show Chernobyl. Go watch it. And just when I thought we were becoming friends, Roose goes and declares neutrality. With enemies, you know where they stand. With neutrals, who knows? It sickens me. So I'm a democracy, and given that this mod plays by base Hearts of Iron rules, that means I can't really declare wars until world tension's at 100%. But I looked at my focus tree and there's nothing in there that says I have to stay a democracy. So the next closest ideology we could flip to would be fascist. Sorry Rob, you gotta go. I like your sister better. But to be fair, outside of Game of Thrones, what I associate with both of you are some very terrible movies. Now Roose is demanding Hornwood. Man, this guy just can't make up his mind about what he wants to do. He wants to be my friend, then he wants to be neutral, then he demands stuff. I gotta demand too. Shut the hell up. I'm not giving you anything. Oh my god, I really can't believe this guy. Now he wants an alliance. No, how could I ever trust you? You're a bipolar guy who flays people for fun. No thanks, I think I'll just administer your land directly. So while I may have a giant ice wall to protect me against the White Walkers, that wall is manned by the AI, so that means it's basically useless. So I'm going to have to build my own wall, and I'll make the others pay for it. Oh, and it looks like Bobby B has passed away. And don't try and sugarcoat it, that man didn't die peacefully in his sleep. He was stabbed to death by a pig. Now the question is, will Sean Bean do the smart thing and take the throne, or will I have to put him on the throne? I've aligned myself with the Tullys. That way I can get a lot closer to King's Landing, just in case I need to go all SEAL Team 6 to get Sean Bean back. Well, it looks like Stannis the Manus is throwing his hat in the race for the Iron Throne. If you want to live, Sean, don't do it. Well, as I was worried about, Ned tried to take the high road and it got him into a bit of hot water. So I guess your boy Rob's gonna have to bail you out. Good thing I was kind of prepared for that. So I'll call my allies the Tullys in and see if I can rush King's Landing. Wow, we actually did it. We saved Sean Bean. We got to King's Landing in less than 90 days and saved him. Welcome home, Ned. You're fired, Rob. Get the hell out of here. And once I took King's Landing, it looks like the rest of the Crownlands fell. And it now looks like the Freys are inviting Rob to a wedding. Sure, I'll accept. This run was about saving Sean Bean. I said nothing about his children. Oh, he actually didn't get murdered. Oh, I mean, he didn't get murdered. Good for him. I totally wasn't planning on replacing him anyways. And now it looks like Viserys Targaryen had a little bit too much fun at his golden shower. And I was about to say now his sister's in charge, but I forgot Aquaman gets his turn first. Well, I finished my focus that gave me a war goal on the Boltons. Now the question is, can I take them down before they join another faction? Oh, they joined the Lannister faction. That's fine. As long as they didn't join the Rainbow Union and drag them into this war. Yeah, they're the other major faction on the continent. And it looks like Renly wasn't killed by the Shadow Baby. Or at least not yet. So that alliance is going on strong. There goes Roose Bolton. Well, it's a bit of a stalemate on the Lannister line. So I think it's time to strengthen our alliance. And maybe we can pull the Eyrie into our side helping us. Because otherwise I have to fight them. And fighting through all of this just does not appeal to me. Hey, things are starting to look up. I spammed improve relations, and when that focus finished, they accepted my treaty. Welcome to the Cool Kids Club. Now if you'd kindly hurl all your manpower at this mess, I would appreciate it. There we go. I had to hurl a mere 50 divisions at that one tile to get past their fort. Is this the big breakthrough I was hoping for? No, it does not appear so. This is going to be a slog. Well, Rob, you have a new family to look after, so I think it's time for you to take a break. Why don't you let your sister in charge instead? So there we go. Now we're led by Sansa Stark. And to celebrate, I will upgrade my infantry templates. Maybe that's the problem I'm having with these immovable front lines. So now with my retrained army and I have their cipher, what kind of effect will that have on them? It would be nice if my allies would do some pushing. Well, it looks like the Night's Watch is having a bit of difficulty fighting some communist wildlings. But, you got this, guys. Don't mind the fact that I built a secondary wall behind you. That just means I'm extra confident in your abilities. Well, I have some good news and I have some bad news on the war front. The bad news is I basically had to take over 400,000 casualties getting 3 tiles. So this is unsustainable and I need to come up with a new plan. The good news is the slave state that they're lying to has decided to off themselves by declaring war on Meereen and Verlantis. And that also means I can invite them to the faction. But here's my new plan, and hear me out. We start a war with the Rainbow Union. They're basically sitting around not doing anything anyways, so I might as well try my luck on a different front. And I'm certain my allies are more than capable of holding down everything on their own. And if not, it'll incentivize the AI to actually attack each other for once. But I'm still not happy about this stalemate over here, so I'm going to try out my new Marines and snipe their island. And speaking of islands, the Greyjoys are only one focus away from joining the Lannisters, so hopefully they don't pick that focus. And unfortunately, I have to wait for them to fully switch to fascism, because I do have a focus to add them to my alliance, which I was hoping to do. I could use their tasty navy, and I don't really feel like having to set up a bunch of naval invasions. Well, I got Faircastle, and as I predicted, the AI is trying to push a little bit, so it's nice to see somebody else waste their manpower for a change. I don't know what's happening. The second I leave the line, the Tullys decided to get their act together and are actually doing a significant amount of pushing. Look at that, they got 10 units encircled over there. Was I the problem all along? No, that can't be right. I'm gonna send my troops back over there to help out and exploit this. Well, I wasn't expecting that. I was hoping to keep the Ironborn out of this war, and instead Dorne joined on the Lannister side. And I think it's because they declared war on the Baratheons. So the upshot of that is the Rainbow Union is now on our team for now. There we go, now I'm finally making some breakthroughs. Just gotta spread out quickly. And look at that, even the Vale landed in Lannisport. What version of Hearts of Iron is this where my allies are actually competent? I like this change of pace. They're finally not a boat anchor dragging behind me. Well, speaking of 4D chess moves, it looks like the Greyjoys are trying to align themselves with the Lannisters. But my question is, will the Lannisters even exist by the time they finish that focus? And it looks like the Karstarks went on a bit of a rampage and have been killing people a bit too willy-nilly, despite our orders. Listen, I'm not disappointed that you killed them. I'm disappointed that you didn't listen to me. Yeah, I really gotta hurry up and wrap up these wars. The third act is coming pretty quickly now. Let's just hope one line of defense is going to be enough. But hey, you never know, maybe the AI will surprise me and they'll actually be able to hold out against them on their own. Or maybe I'm just huffing weapons grade copium. Well, it looks like I now have to deal deal with the Greyjoys. What are the odds my allies actually have a navy that can take theirs down? Because I know I don't. My only hope of actually wearing down their manpower is that they land in my land with no supply, and then I can slap them down with my defense divisions. Well, I got the last of the Lannister victory points, and I can't believe they haven't capitulated yet, so I guess that means I'm just going to have to completely wipe out all 40 of these divisions. Thank you for giving me my early Christmas present. No way, I can't believe it. When I wasn't looking, the AI pulled off another naval invasion on the Greyjoys. Am I the one who's being carried? I'm frankly just stunned. I've never had faction members this helpful. Hang on, before I actually wipe out this pocket, let's check the before and after. So they're currently at 1.1 million casualties. Let's see what it is afterwards. Wow, and it's a double KO. Both Greyjoy and Lannister are both out, and it looks like we added 100,000 casualties to their total. Now it's just Dorne left, and it looks like my allies already got a head start over there too. There we go, already making friends in Dorne. Now we just have to do some sneaky breakthroughs in the south. There we go, World War Westeros is finally over, and I believe I should have the highest war score out of everyone. Well, I got most of what I wanted out of that peace deal. I got the Iron Islands, I got King's Landing, and I got a pretty nice navy. All in all, not a bad deal. Oh, and I guess they decided to leave Dorne alive just so they could look at Pedro Pascal's beautiful face. Well, it looks like my allies are ditching me, and I was curious to see if I could find some new allies across the pond, but no, turns out Dany's a communist, and imagine the surprise on my face when I saw who she was fighting. It's actually just the Free City of Karth, but why do they have the Israeli flag? I have no idea. Well, it looks like my faction truly is dead now. You do a little bit of fascism once and everyone loses their mind. Well, the Targaryens got taken out by Israel and replaced with not Alexander Krasinski. But hey, at least they let him keep the dragons. Yeah, and just as I was worried about, if I try and retake any of my land from my old allies, they're going to be guaranteed by the Rainbow Alliance. I'm going to have to fight all of Westeros to get it back. And since I literally just did that, I'm going to find something else to do. Well, realistically, the only person I can go after who won't be guaranteed is the White Walkers. So I guess we're going to do some LARPing as the Night's Watch. Well, perhaps it's a good thing that we've turned our attention back to this front, because it looks like the Night's Watch is now beginning their war with the others. So I'm very curious to see how long they will last. But they were also for some reason guaranteed by the Tullys, which caused them to go to war and then join the Rainbow Union, along with the Lannisters. So I think I have a cunning plan to get back on the cool kids team. Well, I've been watching the Southerners slowly trickle in, and it looks like they're actually starting to push the others back. So I think I'm going to get in on this action very shortly. Alright, nothing like having to manually justify to your people why you should have to kill the ice zombies. But before I help anyone out, I want to be accepted by my peers again. So first thing I have to do is dismantle my faction. Then once everyone's kicked out, I can disband the faction, declare war on the others. Then I ask to join the Rainbow Union. And would you look at that, we're all friends again. All it took was our collective desire to kill zombies. And I'm just going to go ahead and assume I'm going to be the one who has to build all the supply lines up here. Well, we got Hardhome back pretty easily, and I'm seeing a lot of green across the line. I'm starting to see why the White Walker invasion didn't get very far in the show. Well, the AI overstacked my line, so I pulled everyone back just so I could get some more supply. And while I can build roads in their territory, I can't build supply hubs. So maybe I'm better off just letting the whole thing fall. That way I can actually build supply hubs. Well, they weren't dying nearly as fast as I wanted them to, so I have a new plan. I've built up a sizable armored division, so I can use my tanks to encircle their divisions, and I can use my infantry divisions to sweep up the pockets when I'm done. Surely I can run the zombies out of manpower. That seems like a feasible plan. Maybe taking this capital will capitulate them? Boy, I hope so, because fighting through these mountain tiles is just as cancerous as you might imagine. Well, it didn't capitulate them, but I do think they are starting to finally crumble now. There we go, the White Walkers are down, and I didn't have to use Deus Ex Machina to do it. Alright, and with that, I think Westeros is secure. Don't mind the fact that I keep getting kicked from the faction over and over. I think my former allies are just mad that I put a girl in charge. But that is the end of the focus tree. So, final thoughts on the mod. Well, I like the fact that every faction does get its own focus tree, even if it is short, but playing on the Westerosi continent with all the other factions is pretty fun. My biggest complaint is probably the aesthetic choice of this mod. The fact that a lot of things were left the same as the base game is a bit disappointing. I think of other mods like Project Valacord and the Lord of the Rings mod. Both of those had pretty immersive armies for their respective franchises. So if I had to ask for one thing in the mod, it'd be more appropriate theming. So that is where we'll leave it off for tonight. If there are any other mods or games you'd like to see, let me know down in the comments below, or you can join our community Discord. Link is in the description. All right, good night everyone, and remember, only you can prevent Sean Bean's death.